All right guys, today we're going to be working on a 2008 G37 and I'm going to show you how to change the door actuator on this vehicle. Okay guys, so I have this door actuator here and it's actually not brand new. I had to purchase it used because, well, it is difficult to find a brand new one for the two-door coupe. Now, I found some online for the sedan and they're over $600 to $500. So if anyone comes across this video and you know where to find a brand new one, tell us where you could find one so I could purchase one as well. But this one came from eBay and I'm going to show you how to install it. Of course, since we're installing the actuator, we're going to have to take off this whole panel and I'm going to pretty much try to guide you the best I can in removing this panel without damaging it.
So I started by removing the cover that holds the bolt right on the handle that you use to open up the car from the inside, and I just pried it open and removed the cover. And then I moved my way to the light cover. This is the interior light that sits on the inside of the panel. You can see I just pried it down and I was able to disconnect the pigtail, and you can see I'm using a screwdriver to be able to remove the pigtail from the clip because it's a little difficult pushing down into it. Now in this part, I'm using a trim tool and I'm just prying away from the door handle and I was able to remove the cover. Technically you can get away with a screwdriver, but it was easier using a trim tool. And right here you can see me removing the inner bolts. These are 10 millimeters and I am using my electric ratchet. Once you remove those, you could start making your way towards the actual door panel and gently start prying away from the door to remove the door panel away from the door. Now this part is important. Make sure not to yank the panel away from the door immediately because it will be attached. You are going to have to disconnect some of the pigtails, and these right here are going to the lock switch that I'm going to be removing. Once you remove the window switch and the lock switch, make your way towards the latch cables. Now one is for the lock and the other one is for the latch. Be careful when you're doing this, you don't want to break anything. Then I made my way to removing the window motor regulator. This regulates the height of the window when you're wanting it to go up and down. I simply just removed the 3 bolts holding it together, releasing it from the bracket and being able to remove it. Now, of course, once you remove this, your window's going to be able to go up freely, so try not to push down on the window or make it go up and down manually. Then using some trim tools, I was able to release the harness away from the panel that we're getting ready to remove. This is important because this whole panel, the metal part that you see right here, you're gonna have to remove it on the vehicle. This panel has a ton of bolts attached all the way around, and if I could recall right, it was a 12 millimeter socket that I was using, and I was removing all of the panel bolts all the way around it. So now comes the tricky part. So this panel has a cover right in the front of it, and you're going to remove these 2 access points. These 2 access points, these holes that the panel has, it's going to give you the ability to be able to loosen the glass and be able to remove it from the actual window regulator. Take your time when you do this to make sure that nothing gets damaged, and you can see I'm trying to position it into the right place to be able to remove it. Once you remove the 2 bolts, the window will be loose, so take your time and be careful when you loosen them from the window regulator. Also, if you have an extra set of hands, someone that can spot you and hold the glass, it might be helpful so the glass doesn't fall down into the door and get damaged in the process. Once again, using the trim tool, I am pushing up on this weather strip, and this is going to have to be removed so you could get the window out. So I'm basically just prying up gently, making my way back and forth until the weather strip gets loose where I could pull it off the door. Now right here you can see I'm starting to pull up on the glass. You're going to have to take your time and maneuver it. You're going to have to play with it back and forth go forward a little bit and move it back until you free it loose. And the glass will eventually come out. Just take your time here, making sure that you don't damage anything on the removal part. Now that you have the glass out of the way, turn your attention to these two bolts. These sit right above the metal panel that you're supposed to remove, and it keeps the panel in place. So they do sit into the panel, and you have to go in a diagonal to be able to release them. You can see I'm trying to push into the bolts so I could be able to remove them. And if you did it correctly, this is what the panel should look like front and back. Everything is still attached.
So now that we have gotten to this stage right here, you can kind of tell where the actuator sits. So it sits right in here, and this is this white piece of plastic that sits right here where these cables come out to your door handle. Okay, so right in here there is this little clip, this little blue clip. You're gonna pull up, and that's exactly what I did. I pulled up and it releases this lever right in here, and it lets you remove it once you pulled up. So it's going to be something like this. It's going to be clipped on. You're going to pull up like that. It is loose, and now this is loose from the door handle. This is for your lock. This is your locking actuator. So when your key turns it, it locks it. What I'm going to do is, since I have already a good working cable inside here, and I don't want to have to take off the door handle part, I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece right here. I'm going to remove this whole cable, and we're going to use the existing one inside the door. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in here. So here you have these two cables are for the inside panel, and then this one cable attaches to the outside door handle. So I'm going to leave this in place, and I am going to remove this one when I install it. So right now what I'm going to concentrate on is loosening this part right here, and then we're going to do all the installation outside. The door lock actuator is loose, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this pigtail right here. So that is loose, and now I should have more room to place this in the outside. So this is the cable right here that I'm gonna leave. If I was to disattach it to the door handle here, I would have to take those door handle apart, and it'll be really difficult to get to it. So this is a good working cable. I'm gonna leave it. You might have to, in your situation, replace it. You might want to, in your situation, if this cable is damaged, if the plastic is damaged, you might want to change it. But in our situation, we're going to leave it. It's good. So I'm just going to pull this off of here and then go ahead and install the new one. All right, so this is the part of the video where I always say compare the parts, check how they look, see if they're the same, see if the pigtail, the plug part is the same, if they look similar, if there's something wrong, and then you could determine whether you got the right part or not. In our situation, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and see if we could get this to work at all or hear something coming from it, because I would hate to install it since this is a good used part. I hate to install it and then it doesn't work. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. Okay, so I'm just gonna test it with the key fob, and we should have some type of movement here or some signs of it being able to work. So I'm gonna go ahead and unlock it. I could hear something. Oh, and I can see there is movement in here. So it is working. Let me see if I could, I believe I locked it. Let's see if we could get this actuator to work. There it is, it just moved. So It is moving, it is working. This is something that you should confirm before you continue if you're using a good use part. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one off of here because we are not gonna use it. So, and then we're gonna use this guy. I have attached the cable into the actuator now, and you can see this makes it a little bit easier to be able to replace this without having to remove the cable from the door handle. This is a lot easier. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the actuator. Now remember which way it faces, and this little push rod, just make sure it's hanging down. If you have it like this, it could bind up when you're trying to install it. So just let it hang down, and I'm going to just maneuver it into place. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the little push rod again. I'm going to put it where it goes and then flip the little locking mechanism down. So now it's locked in place once again. And of course, don't forget to plug your pigtail back into the locking actuator. If you want it to work, you have to plug it in. So here's something that you should consider doing is in the back of these tracks, these things go up and down in the inside door panel of the G37. They live a hard life going up and down. So you can see in our situation, this is very dry. So I'm gonna use a little bit of silicone lube. I'm gonna spray some silicone spray on here, lubing up the track to make sure that this lasts a little bit longer, because you could see how difficult it is to be able to remove a mechanism like this. So in order to replace it, you would have to take off the rivets on here, and it's not fun. So we want this to last as long as we can. So I'm just gonna set it here, and I'm gonna lube up this track right now. All right, in the likely situation that this little piece right here falls off when you're trying to install the mechanism back on. Now this piece sits like this on here, and it's usually sits nice and tucked in here. Now when you're trying to install it back, it's going to continue to fall. What I would suggest to do is just put a little bit of glue, and I'm just using this super glue, and I'm going to place the accelerator. This helps it dry quicker on here like that, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. So we're doing this, of course, so it doesn't continue to fall as I'm trying to maneuver the panel back on. You're going to slide this plastic piece all the way out like so you have room to fit the panel behind it. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, something I forgot to mention is when you remove the glass, make sure you put it on a surface that it's not going to break. Put a blanket down, put something down so this glass doesn't get damaged. So I'm taking advantage of the situation where I have the glass removed. I'm going to scrape away some of this tint from in here, and then I'm going to clean this glass before I install it back on.
Definitely have a little bit of patience when it comes to installing the glass back on. You can see I didn't get it right away, right at the first try. It's a little tricky and you have to play with it until it falls right in the right groove. There's a combination of going back and forth right until it falls into place, and then it starts to slide down. So be careful, take your time, don't get frustrated, you'll get it. I was having a hard time holding the window up and fastening the bolt at the same time, so I discovered this trick and I'm going to share it with you just in case you run into the same situation.
Okay guys, if you're having a hard time like I am right now in putting this window back in, this is a tip that you could use. It might fall right into place or it might not. So I have removed the speaker from in here. Now I could hold the bracket from the back and I could send this bracket home. I could tighten this bolt that's in here now. Since we removed this window off the track and we had to take everything apart, now we're gonna have to adjust the window so it sits inside here, inside the rubber seal properly. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna grab some type of ratchet and have the correct socket. So we're using a 12 mil, and you're gonna just loosen up where the window is, where the window bolts are. You're gonna loosen them up on both sides. Okay. Just like that. So you don't want to go too loose where the bracket becomes loose from the window. Once again, what you want to do is just a little loose, so then you could sit in here and you could adjust the height. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this window, and while the window is closed, I'm going to raise the window all the way to the top, and I'm going to try to make sure it sits nice and flush against this molding right here, against this weather seal, and make sure it sits properly, and make sure that the window isn't crooked when I raise it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So when you do this job, it's easier if you take off the panel and you remove the window switch off of the door panel. So like that, you could access this area and you could raise and lower the window at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and close this door and adjust it. Okay, so now you can see that the window has a gap all along here. So we're going to try to fix this gap right now, and I'm going to raise the window all the way to the top. Okay, now that I have it all the way to the top, I'm going to do my adjustments, and I'm going to try to make sure that it sits nice and flush into the seal. So when you raise the window up, it sits properly and it seals everything.
So the idea here is to have the bolts in the bottom that hold your window loose, so when you raise it up, it maneuvers itself into place, and then you snug everything back up, and you should have a window that's aligned with the track once again. You might not get it right the first time, just have some patience once again, and you'll eventually put it into the right place.
So remember guys, since we had to take the window out of here, you have to readjust everything. So that's what I've done already. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just snug this up where I want it to sit, and everything sits nice and even in here. And now I could put everything back together. All right guys, so I'm gonna give you a little tech tip here that I have discovered over the years. So sometimes when you're trying to insert a bolt, like I am right in here into this cubby hole, it is very difficult to hold it at the same time, and the bolt tends to just fall. So what I like to do is get some tape. You could use electrical tape, any sort of tape, and I get a piece of it and I set it right over the socket like this, so the sticky side facing in. So now I'm able to push this bolt in here like so. You can see I put the sticky stuff around it. Now this bolt does not fall down and you're able to insert it in there. This is something I have used for many years and it works very well. So try it out. So once you have everything installed, go ahead and test it out and make sure everything is working. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock. So we're locking and unlocking the doors, and we're gonna make sure everything still works through the door panel. And we're gonna make sure also that the window works. So we're able to go down, we're able to go up, but no problem. And of course, test it once you're outside of the vehicle. Make sure it works. And we're good. All right, guys, so that is it for this video. If you found any of this useful, please subscribe. I mean, for the sake of this video, look how hot it is. Look how I'm sweating. I'm recording this so you guys understand what to do and how to do it. So give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.